Mario once again with MIA Microflight. I decided to do another video on this C189 from RC era. It's been modified with my tough landing gear, my own 3D printed blades, tail guard, different blade on the tail, and recently I installed a different control system here. I removed the original flight controller with the receiver. So this one employs a regular DSM2 receiver. It's got a gyro board and also a computer board. So it's basically all, if you will, 3-in-1 control system via separates. And what you're seeing here is open heart surgery like are all these boards that make up that system there. I am repurposing the same ESC. It's on the bottom there. That's the original ESC, 2-in-1 ESC for the tail and the main motor. I did some tests yesterday. I did a video of that showing the test of the rotor spinning, and I was trying to set up my radio. My radio does have to be set up a little bit different than, of course, than the original one, because the original is designed for its own flight controller. So my servo positions, the arms had to be changed. I changed those just via the radio, the transmitter, via via the trims, because not the trims, but you can go inside the radio and change the position of the, what is that called? It's slipping me. But anyway, I did it via the transmitter instead of doing this mechanically. It should be done mechanically and not using the transmitter to adjust the position of the servo horns. But I did on mine, temporarily on the via the transmitter, just to get the pitch of the blades, because this was really low with the connection to my DSM2 transmitter. It was too low for proper collective pitch and throttle operation. It was the throttle was way too high before this disengage in lift. So you have to balance the pitch with the throttle in that respect, and so that's how I got around to doing that. It does require a little more work. I am trying to find that sweet spot where the ESC triggers the tail rotor. The tail rotor should come in at the same time as the main motor does, when you throttle up. So I'm trying to find that balance there. I believe the ESC, this particular ESC, does have some kind of a handshaking feature. I mean, they use a 6-pin strip here, and I am only using two of the pins to send the signal, pulse width modulated signal, to the ESC to start the connection, to the motors, to send basically throttle control to the motors. But I think there are two other pins. I haven't traced that ESC far enough to find out what those other pin locations are for, because there are four more pin locations. This one at the front here is a 6-pin connector here. That one I figured it out. That's all for power. But the rear one, I think they're doing some kind of a signal handshake, because my tail control is it has some delay there. It could also be it could also be in the programming of the sketch that I'm using, to work with this MPU 6050 gyro. It could be in the sketch that I need to adjust, some of the timing. I think that sketch that I'm using is designed for servo tail control. But between the tail and the servo, there's really not much. As far as the signal is the same. You're applying the same pulse width modulated signal either to a servo or to an ESC controller, unless the ESC is designed a little bit different, that is expecting some kind of a signal handshake, with the flight controller. So I think that may be embedded in this ESC. Um, so that's where I'm at. But this is this according to my tests, my bench testing on this rotor head, this does have enough enough weight on the blades to maintain stability. The only thing is that the control here has to be dialed really low. You can't have a really long throws on the servos. It's got to be really small, the control, because that does affect the sensitivity of the response of the rotor head. So you don't want this thing flying away. The other thing I notice is that when I give cyclic forward pitch on if the settings are not done correctly, the helicopter wants to take off because of it affects the collective pitch on the blade. So if this is running at a particular RPM, and you affect cyclic control to a point where it changes that some of the pitch of the blades, it wants to lift, obviously, because you're putting a little more pitch on the blade. So it's not a flyaway, but it does have that tendency to want to come up and then until you control that level at via the cyclic control. So just little nuances that need to be worked out. This is not by no means not a perfect system, but it is an option. To getting away from the barometer and optical flow sensors, which is just hanging here. I need to remove this from this board because I'm not going to use this at all. I am going to modify the connector for the original battery because that connector there does have 1, 2, 3, 4 pins. Those tabs there. The battery, and this is only using the plus and minus for the battery, the 2-cell battery, 8.4 volts. When it's fully charged, to deliver power to the ESC board. But I do need 4 volts here on this connector here. I've been just plugging it to the balance charger of my own batteries, to one of the cells, to provide the 4.4 4 volts, 4.2 volts to the receiver. This receiver works on 4.2 volts. Anything lower than 3.7, it's going to do some funky things. So I do have to also put some kind of a warning when the battery is about to reach that point, to tell me to stop flying the helicopter, because it will cease operation on some of these gyros, and the helicopter can do some funky things when that happens. So it's got to be all those things have to be taken into consideration. But that connector, as far as the power delivery also to the receiver, I can certainly do that because this is I believe inside the battery case. It is plugging directly to what would be the balance connector. So there's the voltages would be for 1 cell, 2 cells. So I think I can use that third lead and deliver 4.2 volts to my receiver that way, via just a separate connector here, where I can connect my receiver. This is the receiver, the little tiny receiver that I mentioned that I'm employing here, that I had to make up my own sort of receptacle board here with this 3D printed base. And you can see I also did the 3D printed this 3D printed base for the rest of the electronics, which is all this stuff you can get online. There's no magic here. Separates. I mean, it's pretty much the same concept that I've been using since I started doing this. Many years ago. When there were no flight controllers, there was no gizmos such as barometers, GPS, none of this stuff. That's how we were flying, these little helicopters. Or at least that's how I was flying, because not many people were doing that when I was doing my own Microsoft micro palm size helicopters. So this is where I'm at. I wanted to capture this on this video, and for comparison's sake, once again, there's the Gaui clone. Firefox, which is another helicopter that I'm working on because I am, yeah, I've been very, very, um, I'm a little bit disappointed in this helicopter in the many times that I've gotten some good flights, but I've also I probably had more issues with this helicopter than some decent satisfactory flights. So I'm a little bit soured about that helicopter, and I want to get this one going just to satisfy that flying, that satisfactory flying feedback that you get when you have a properly set up in flying helicopter. Something that's not, at least not going to fly away as this does. This doesn't give you the reassurance that you're going to bring it back in one piece if it starts to climb up, because by the time you hit the stop button, you may be high enough to damage the landing gear, as I did on mine. I have the body on, in a coffee can, just sitting, this really nice body, because I can't risk, ruining the body. I don't want to, I don't want to risk it. If I get this going, I will put the body back, the way it was, with the original um, uh, landing gear struts and skids. But until this is working to my satisfactory level, or to my satisfaction, I am not going to. I'm not going to put the body, on this helicopter. So yeah, there's a lot of wires here sticking out. This could be a lot tidier and cleaner if I were to, say, develop some kind of a PC board, my own PC board, so that all these connections are done, soldered on the PC board itself, and not having to go point to point with these all these little tiny wires. Um, the other thing is that these wires have to be properly soldered. You can't have cold joints, and all those pins that are inserted into those original sockets, those 6-pin sockets on the ESC, they have to be they can't have any slop, because any slop, introduces intermittent connections, and that kind of screws up the control system here. You're not going to get the servos to work properly, the cyclic, or you're not, or they're not going to connect at all. Sometimes, when you have loose connections, or voltages that are not properly set up on your transmitter. Your transmitter is not getting, a solid clean voltage on the receiver. So it's a lot of work. This is not for, the average person. I don't think. In fact, there's another video that I stumbled on, that of another guy that did a full conversion. It's on YouTube. It's a full conversion to his red C189. He's got this little red helicopter that I also bought that one, just to fool around with a little more. But I haven't done anything with that one yet, because I want to luck on this, and once, if I get this to the point where I'm totally satisfied and it's well tested, I will install something similar on the red one. But he's got one that where he's using some kind of a flight controller uh, set up with rotor flight. I don't know if he works for that company, because the links lead you to that specific site where you can purchase the board for about $54. It's kind of steep, I mean, these boards were not that expensive, a few years back, but things have gone up, and I don't know, paying $60-$70, for almost the price of the helicopter for a control board is, and then you have to do a lot of work, in doing that. It's not a plug and play type thing. You do have to go into rotor flying program, and that takes a little, unless you have something that's already set up for you, some kind of a file that you can dump it there, and say, mimic this control system, and burn that on the computer memory of that flight controller. You have to go through the paces. You have to know what you're controlling here, how this works, and how you need to adjust it, so that it's stable. PID settings is not an easy task. unless you understand, what that does and what it is and what that does. So there's a lot of it's a lot of work. I mean, just put it that way. So it's not meant for everybody, but for those who understand this, it may be peanuts. Maybe really easy to do, but it is an option. Doing it the way I'm doing it, just going with separates. I mean, there's no reason why not to, because I started my helicopter designs with separates when there were no even the receivers, when they were really bulky. I'm talking back in the late '70s, early '80s. None of this stuff was was at the level that it is. Of course, no brushless motors, no light lithium polymer batteries. So I had to do it the hard way. A lot of the servos that I was using back then, I was removing, cutting the cases, cutting even the gears, going into the individual gears and drilling little holes on the gears, just to cut as much weight as possible, so that I can at least have. At that time, I was developing the micro helicopter, so that I can have something super super lightweight, because the components, the equipment was not there. Anyway, that's where it's at. Mario, once again, stay tuned for more.